There we go. All right, so again, here we are at Boundaries for Beginners. So thank you again. Welcome in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am just floored by the amount of people who responded. And again, if you weren't able to respond live, you're watching this on the replay. I appreciate you and your time and just for giving me your attention, because in this day and age, it is not to be taken lightly. My name is Sophia Antoine. I'm a life and relationship coach, amongst other things. So at your leisure, you can run back through and read this, but just know that I have studied long and hard to be able to serve you well, because it is what I feel my life's mission, to help women to get through the things that cause them anxiety, that cause them bad feelings, unforgiveness, low self-esteem, anything like that. Welcome in. Thank you guys. I'm just getting started. I appreciate you being here. You don't know how much I appreciate it. So thank you, thank you, thank you again. If there are ever any technical difficulties, please do let me know. And as I stated previously, if you do choose to speak up on the recording, you are being recorded. Feel free to use the chat box if you do not want to be recorded, or you can shoot me an email later. Anything that you so choose, whatever makes you comfortable, because I do want to respect your boundaries, right? So next, a little bit of housekeeping. Please hold all questions until the end or drop them in the chat box and we'll address them during the discussion portion of the presentation. If you choose to post on social media, please tag me. I would greatly appreciate it. I love, love, love to see what you have to say about the presentation or anything that we discuss here. Use the hashtags Boundaries for Beginners and Coach Sophia. 3, the replay will be available within 72 hours of the broadcast completion. And don't forget to sign up for the next workshop when I do put it out. Most importantly, this presentation cannot be shown in whole or in part without express permission from Courageous Coaching Corporation, my company, or myself directly. So again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Are y'all able to hear me okay? You can just nod or drop something in chat box, drop a 1 in the chat box if you can hear me okay. I'm assuming yes. Okay, so our purpose in being here today is to assist you in recognizing the necessity for effective boundaries. And we'll look at how you can evaluate your current relationships, your current boundaries, implement new, more beneficial boundaries, or just see what's going on, if you have any at all, because a lot of us think we do. And then we realize that not so much, because we find out how people are taking advantage of us or manipulating us or using the things that we possibly need from them to control us. So here are topics of discussion, and it's basically a who, what, when, where, how situation. We're going to implement some boundaries in a little bit, assess our boundaries, track our progress, have some discussion, and then we'll go on our merry way. So if you're ready, go ahead, get your pen, get your paper, get your thinking caps on, and we're going to get right into what are boundaries. And the short answer would be, boundaries are imaginary lines you draw around yourself, and you let others know how close they are allowed to get to you. And it's also about how close you can get to other people. They also teach people what they can expect from you in terms of time, effort, and energy. Having solid and effective boundaries allows you to use your resources wisely. Because I don't think in any time prior to late 2019, all of 2020, and it seems like we're going back into that space right now, that we've learned what boundaries are or learned about boundaries more efficiently than the C-19. Everybody needed 6 feet, or you didn't want people to get too close to you. You didn't want to handshake. You only wanted to fist bump at arm's length. So you really kind of got a crash course in boundaries. And it was one that I think we all kind of needed, but it also made people a little bit crazy. So in short, boundaries provide security. They provide protection. They formulate respect, and they show responsibility. And when I tell people about, or my clients about how security and protection, they're like, well, aren't they the same thing? No, not in terms of relationships. Boundaries in relationships mean, for security, is how safe you feel with the person. So how secure you feel, because you know the difference between a person that makes you feel okay and a person that makes you feel great. A person that you know you can depend on, and a person you be like, nah, I'm not gonna ask sis or bruh to help me with this because they will not be there for me. So that's the difference between the security and the protection portion. But boundaries also formulate respect, because there are so many people that say yes when they really want to say no. So you're compromising your boundaries at that point and allowing things into your life that shouldn't be there. And boundaries themselves, crossing your own boundaries, because that's usually what we're guilty of, because you have heard that old adage, you teach people how to treat you. It's no more true than when dealing with your boundaries, because you'll say yes because you don't want to lose a certain person in your life, or you don't want somebody to be mad at you. But by saying yes, you end up being angry with yourself because you clearly don't have the time to take on the task that they've asked you to do. You clearly don't want to do it because you have your own stuff in your life going on. But because you value this relationship, you say yes and put yourself in kind of predicament where you're rushing around, and sometimes you made it easier for them to go about their lives, and now you have tons of things on your plate that you don't know what to do with. And I hope I'm not the only person that has ever done that. So this is just some really high level boundaries that we're looking at here. So this is, well, first, let me go back. I'm sorry. This is a castle with the moat around it, or the water around it, just to give you some boundaries in your mind. You wouldn't go to this person's house without calling first. Why? Because you have no idea of knowing if they're home. None at all. So I'm like, do I really want to venture out in my boat and go over there? So, don't come to my house unannounced, because I will not answer the door, or I will look at you through my peephole and be like, okay. And I'll go back in my room and do whatever it is I was doing prior to your arrival. So just a word of warning. Also, high level boundaries is security systems. Security system, when you turn on the security system in your house, you don't expect anybody to come in. So same thing with your personal boundaries. You don't want anybody to cross that line with you, because after that, all bets are off. And something else that's been in the news a lot lately is our border walls. So this is the border between the United States and Mexico. And we don't want anybody to say that they were able to come in unannounced. They were able to just do whatever they wanted to and wreak havoc. So this is the situation, even in our country, about people coming in and just not respecting boundaries. So our next topic is, why do we need boundaries? We need boundaries because we need to have a peace of mind. A peace of mind is basically the really short answer, but boundaries keep you safe. So we were talking about security, safety and security. Having reasonable but firm boundaries in place can help you to know that you can say no and still be a good person. Now, you don't understand how many people think that because they enforce boundaries, because they said no, that they aren't able to do a certain thing, that they are no longer a good person, or they allow themselves to be convinced of that. So a lot of it has to do with your mindset as well. Don't allow yourself to be convinced that you are not a good person because you had to say no to someone else because you said yes to yourself. At the end of the day, you have to realize that you are important. You are the person that has to take on this responsibility. You are the person that has to do whatever it is you committed to, because you don't want to be a person that didn't keep their word, You want to be a person of integrity, and saying no, you feel like would make you a bad person. That's not it. Boundaries help you keep your responsibilities from getting entangled with those of other people. How many of you have ever had someone in your life, or you witnessed somebody, not necessarily you, but you've witnessed somebody pawn off all the hard stuff on maybe a work project or maybe a school project, and all they did was come in at the end and get credit? I've had that done to me, being the unofficial smart kid in the group. I've had that done where I've written reports or I've done job tasks, and then everybody else just came in. Yeah, the team did this. No, the team did not. I did it. But because you were part of a team, you probably had to share credit. So that was a case of me not knowing my boundaries when I was younger. Now, not so much. But boundaries are also early warning system for being used and or abused, because a lot of women find themselves in this place where maybe you're in a relationship, or it could go in friendships too, that you are being abused by someone, you're being manipulated because you are not choosing your boundaries wisely. So who needs boundaries? And this is a really quick one. This is really easy. Boundaries are for everyone. And I'm just going to give you this example I came up with while making this slideshow. And I just thought it was so funny because I know what I would do, but I am quite extreme sometimes. So you guys tell me, you can tell me in the chat box, or if you want to take yourself off mute when you're done, when I'm done giving you the explanation or this example, you let me know what you would have done. So what if you went to visit a friend and she got sick on the last day you were supposed to leave? So the last day of your visit, she got sick. On the day of your departure, being the kind and wonderful person that you are, you book an Uber so she doesn't have to take you to the airport. When the Uber pulls up, now she waited good till the Uber pulled up. She calls you selfish and tells you that the friendship will be over if you leave. So you decide to stay. After 3 days of nursing your friend back to health, she's finally back to her old self. So again, the next day you're going to leave and you're having breakfast. You get an email from your job. You've exceeded your PTO balance and cannot take time off next month to see your aging parents in God knows where they live. So another state, let's say. So you won't be able to get overtime this month because you're being penalized due to the violation, and you're suspended until HR can meet with you. So all of these things have happened because you said yes when you clearly should have said no. So you ask your friend to help you out financially because you missed those days. She says no. No one made you stay. So how do you feel now? I'm gonna tell you how I feel. I feel like it's okay. We don't have to be friends anymore. But do I have a right to feel that way? Because she's right. Nobody made me stay. Maybe she said a few words or I felt bad because of the words she said, but nobody made me stay. So this was clearly a case of me violating my own boundaries. If I was the person in this position, I violated my own boundaries because I wanted to preserve the friendship. I didn't want to be thought of as a selfish person. I didn't want to anger her or lose this relationship. But what type of relationship is it really? It's stupid, Joy. What type of relationship is it really if we can't respect each other's space? She knows I had to go back to work. I know I had to go back to work. So clearly I am the person that's responsible for my actions. And this really isn't a fair friendship. So in doing things, you need to really realize that it's your choice and it's your consequences, but we'll get to consequences in a minute. Yes, it's not a good friendship at all. Not a good friendship. And there are so many people. I did a post on Facebook a while back, maybe a few years ago. I don't know if I reposted it recently, but it really hit home, especially now, like I said, in this age of COVID, because So many people want you to do things for them, and no is okay. People want you to come back to work and put yourself at risk or do this, that, and the third. And now people are really stepping up, especially I think with their employment, and saying, no, I can't do that. I don't want to feel this way. They're realizing, hey, I should start a business, or many people have started businesses because they realize they felt so much better staying home. Yes, Gail, we're responsible for us. We're responsible for ourselves. But so many people don't realize that. And I think it's more, not to go in on the millennials, but this whole microwave generation is like, I'm entitled, I asked for it, I want it now. So in the time that it takes to heat up something in the microwave, they want everything to be okay. They want everything to be in their favor, and damn what anybody else feels or, you know, what they're going through. No is exactly a complete sentence. So most definitely, I think, Gail, you got your boundaries together, girl. So just, that was the short answer on that. So next, when to use boundaries. Again, a very self-explanatory answer. At all times. Use them at work. Use them at home. Use them in public. Use them with your coworkers if y'all go out. Use them if you go to the club. Use them if you go bowling. Use them everywhere. It does take a lot of work. It does. So this is just a very high overview, because a lot of people don't understand that. And you got to pay attention to who supports your choices when you're responding in a way that they don't like. Please pay attention. And that's what, towards the end, we'll talk about journaling, because sometimes you're in a space where you're not able to write something down, or keep a little notebook in your purse or in your office or wherever you are, and compare notes. Shoot yourself a little email, because you need to remember these things when time comes for you to ask people for favors, or time comes that somebody's asking you for something. How do they respond to you? How are you responding to other people? It's all about a fair relationship. You can't keep giving of yourself. And I know the popular saying is you can't pour from an empty cup, but it's true. If you give out yourself to every single person that wants a piece of you, how much of you is really left? So we kind of cover this, where to use boundaries, and that is, of course, everywhere. Home, work, public places, everywhere. So this is really the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to get to. It's myths about boundaries, because people really don't understand. And the experience you have, your mindset about boundaries has to be changed for you to create some really good boundaries and some really lasting relationships. So very first one, the very first couple. So is it selfish to set boundaries? Again, no, and no again. Just those two letters, no, because boundaries increase your awareness of your feelings and the feelings of others. So it's not selfish. You're making it possible for you to be comfortable and that other person to be comfortable. The second one is, I think, most important. People won't come around if I set boundaries. So this is a myth, and it's not. So people won't come around. There'll be some that will alienate you. There'll be some that be upset with you. There'll be some that will be angry with you. Yes, true enough. But there will always be some that stay with you. There'll be some that respect you more. There'll be some that be like, girl, I was waiting on you to stand up for yourself. And, you know, how long are you going to let me use you or let other people use you? Boundaries can test the quality of your relationships. And life is too short to have messed up relationships. Period, point blank. Life is too short for you to always be fussing with somebody, cussing with somebody, y'all having a tug of war of what it should be like for y'all to relate to each other. You can't keep doing that. Again, some will respect and support you, and others won't be able to deal with the loss of control over you. And that's really what it's all about. It's the control over you. Some people want to control you. They want to have their cake and eat it too, be able to get the hard stuff done and still be able to have fun. So they pawn it off on other people. Now, I get it. There are going to be some times in life where you really, really, really need help. Get yourself a support system of people, not person, but people. Why? Because there's no guarantee when you come to me and I say I can't do it, that there won't be somebody else in your network that can do it. But you can't just put all of your eggs in one basket, so to speak. You can't just say, oh, because Sophia is so, thank you, because Sophia is so reliable, because Sophia is so dependable, I'm just going to push a whole bunch of stuff off on her because I know she'll get it done. And truth be told, I work best under pressure. I do. I can organize, I can disseminate, I can go ahead and get information out there. I can do all of that stuff. But that doesn't mean I have the capacity to. So just keep that in mind when you are formulating your network. It's your responsibility, again, to make sure you have a network of people that are strong in different areas. Just like with Joy, I'll use her as an example. We have this board of her foundation. She handpicked people that were strong in different areas. So one, she doesn't have it all on her, but it was her responsibility because she leads us to pick people who have strengths in different areas so we can have boundaries on what we're good at. So we're not dipping a toe in everybody else's area, and people know to come to us when they need help in a particular area. So you have to do that for your life. Maybe you need somebody that's good with kids, or somebody that has a car that has the bandwidth to pick your kids up from school if they're sick or something like that. So go ahead and formulate your boundaries. Go ahead and make sure you're picking the right person for the right task if you need it. And there's nothing wrong with making sure maybe that some people are cross-trained in different areas. So, hey, if Sophia can't do it, I know Gail can do it. Or if Joy can't do it, I know Kimmy can do it. Something like that. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, in work, in life, in friendships, and in boundaries. So number 3, setting boundaries will hurt others. It might hurt their ego, but boundaries themselves don't hurt anyone. They just don't. They are tools for your defense and your well-being. There is nothing like a good peace of mind. It'll be uncomfortable at first implementing it. And what I would tell you is this: don't try to set boundaries with everybody in your life at one time. So if you feel like when we get to our activity, there's quite a few people you have to set boundaries with, that's normal in the beginning. But what you may want to do is start with 1 or 2 people, because like I said, people have a tendency to kind of back away when you start putting your foot down and taking your time back, taking your feelings back. So start with 1 or 2 people so you don't alienate your entire network at once, or your families, friends, coworkers, or whatnot. 1 or 2 people, when you start seeing them fall in line, or they may fall off, whatever makes them happy, when you start seeing that coming together, you add 1 more person and you start implementing with that 3rd person, and then go to the 4th person. Don't try to do it all at once. If you're one of these people who get hurt, your feelings are hurt really easily, try to do it slowly. If you're like me, and again, I wasn't always like this, but if you're like me and you just don't care, go ahead and put everybody on notice. Listen, there's a new sheriff in town and this is how things are going to go. I am here for you when I absolutely can, but when I cannot, please respect it. And that's all there is to it. But sometimes, again, a person will have a valid need that you just cannot fill. You are not the end all be all to everybody. Just like we've heard people say before, if you don't put on your oxygen mask when it comes down, you're going to fall out trying to get everybody else's mask on. And that's what we are trying to avoid. All right. So number 4, setting boundaries means I'm angry. Not necessarily. So anger can prompt you to set boundaries, but it doesn't mean you're angry when you're enforcing it. That means you learned your lesson. You learned from the situation that hurt you. You learned from the situation that made you not feel so good, not feel so safe. So while again, it could have been made, the boundary could have been set in hurt, but now it's about protection. Now it's about my mental clarity. Now it's about my focus. Now it's about putting my self-care first. It'll take time. People will get used to it, or they won't. But that clearly tells you it's not a relationship that you should handle like you did before. I'm not saying cut everybody off. I'm just saying that you treat them accordingly. Treat them how you feel best interacting with them. All right. So 5, boundaries. The boundaries of other people hurt me. So this may mean you have an issue with responsibility yourself. So taking responsibility for the things that you need to do. When somebody always expects to be saved, that means they aren't setting boundaries in their own life. They aren't taking care of themselves the way they should be. And sometimes it's just a little bit of redirection. Sometimes you have to let people fall to realize, hey, I cannot run your life as well as run my life. There are some people that you constantly have to be safe. You ever had that friend or that person that you always had to give advice to, or they always don't know how to do something, or you give them the same advice over and over again, month after month. They don't pay their bills, or they're running behind on this, and it gets a bit weary. You get weary. It gets tiresome of having to hear the same thing. So they're imposing on you to save them from something they can clearly do. On the post I put up, I think it says, boundaries help you know where you end and another person begins. Just because I have the money to help you pay this bill doesn't mean that I will give you this money because it's in my account, because I went to work or I took on a client and I did it. So again, it may sound selfish. I get this thinking of boundaries are selfish, but it's not. Boundaries are keeping you safe, because at the end of the month, when you need to pay your light bill, your water bill, your rent, your mortgage, your car payment, your insurance, all these things you have to pay, and you're issuing out your funds to everybody else, how will they get paid? How will it happen? By implementing your boundaries. And the very last myth, boundaries are permanent. They're not. You own your boundaries. You can change your position when you feel safe with the person you've implemented the boundaries with. So never take your boundaries completely away, but you can change it a little bit. Sometimes you have to start off really, really hard until a person realizes, oh, okay, she has feelings and she knows what she wants and her word is good with me. Her yes is her yes, and she doesn't go past that. Her no is her no. She doesn't go past that. So now they only ask you about things, or they ask you, hey, can you take this on? And if you can't, it's okay, because I will find another way. I've built my network of people and your feelings are safe with me. It's all about being safe. It's all about feeling the way that you need to feel with somebody. So as long as you need them intact, you keep your boundaries intact, because it's about your mental health, your clarity, you feeling safe. So any questions so far before we get to the activity? I don't see any popping up, and I'm just going to give you the activity. Every workshop that I put on, I try to put in a little activity that's easy for us to go through really quickly. Again, you'll get the replay sometime tonight, but I want you to walk away with something. I want it to be valuable. You can share it with whomever you so choose that you think needs it, because it's important that we respect each other. It's important that people learn how to respect us. So today's activity is just step 1. Make a list of the people closest to you, family, friends, co-workers, people who you know you have interaction with, and sometimes they encroach upon your boundaries. The second step, Next to those names, list how these people possibly violate your boundaries or what makes you feel unsafe or uncomfortable. Next up, list any way you've been complicit with your boundaries being violated with this person. Again, sometimes you probably told them yes when you wanted to tell them no. You got to stop doing that, because sometimes you do get angry. You can get angry because somebody's giving you more, but it's still your responsibility to say no if you really cannot take it on. And eventually, the fourth step, list one way you can approach the situation to take your power back, because you are just as complicit in making a good relationship as the other person. So when you're in a relationship, be it friendship, co-workers, or whatever, there's always two types of relationships going on. So there's my relationship with you and your relationship with me. And I don't know how many of you have had betrayal happen to you, but sometimes that's not the same relationship. Because just because I'm a friend to you doesn't necessarily mean you're a friend to me. You may be an associate to me, but I'm being a friend to you. So we have to get on the same page so we can make sure this is safe for both of us. So in your journal, if you're keeping one, just try this little activity and just see how it is. Maybe it'll take you a few days because you don't interact with certain people all the time, but just make little notes. Like I said, keep you a little notebook or whatever it is you keep, shoot yourself an email and just figure out how you feel around certain people. Pay close attention to your emotions. Please don't write them off. Don't be like, oh, well, I am overreacting. You're not. Your body will tell you so much before your mind ever can. This gut instinct that we're born with, the reason why a lot of women don't trust it is because they've spent so much time disregarding it. So you begin to think you're a bad decision maker. You're not. You just have stopped listening to your internal alarm system. So once you get in the habit of starting to listen to it again, knowing how you feel around certain people, and the only thing I can really equate this to, and this is partially my work persona, is that if you're around a person that's molesting a child, you can see the difference with how they're interacting, how the child is interacting with that person and how they interact with you. Maybe they were a really talkative kid, but when this person comes in the room that's been touching them inappropriately, they stop or they leave or they make a hasty exit, or some kids start to, have accidents again, and they just regress. So you have that same internal alarm system. Pay attention to how people make you feel and pay attention to how you make people feel. Sometimes it's okay to just say, hey, how do I make you feel? It may be a tough conversation, but it's one that needs to be had. And this one is also tough. This next slide. You have to impose consequences when your boundaries are violated, because at the point when you have done your best to articulate your boundaries to the people in your life and they have disregarded your wishes, you have to say something. You don't want to make it seem like, oh, this is just lip service. You can end up in a worse position than you started. You can end up being used and abused even more. Consequences help people understand the seriousness of the respect you have for yourself, and it lets them know you're willing to uphold your values and beliefs no matter what. Again, I don't know how many more times I can say it. People will be people, will be people. They'll do what you allow them to do to you. But at the point where you start standing up, they're going to either fall away or they're going to support you. Keep the people that support you. And maybe you can work with the people who fall away. Maybe they just realize, hey, I miss this person in my life. And in order to have them in my life, if I have to straighten up and fly right a little bit, I'm going to do that because their presence is worth so much more to me than letting this relationship go. But you have to be realistic with yourself and realize that sometimes they won't. And that's okay. There are people out there for other people. And maybe your season with this person is over, and that's okay. We move on. We wish them the best. There are no hard feelings, because at the end of the day, we want to be safe and feel protected, and we want them to feel the same thing too. So if you don't do that for them, it's all fine and good. Let's move on as friends, and maybe our roads will come back together later. So these are just some common boundary violations. Take a look. This isn't my original work. The source is at the bottom. I want to make sure to give credit where credit is due. So if you want to go there, you can when you get the replay. But these are some common ones. And it could be really little things. So standing too close to a person, of course, because we learned that again with COVID. Touching somebody without their permission. Smoking around non-smokers. I'm not going in order. I'm just listing off a few. Lying or keeping important secrets, like, oh, let me tell y'all that we've come to this. I wasn't going to tell this story, but I will now. So when I was in 7th grade, I had a best friend. At least that's what I thought. Remember what I told you, like I was your friend and she wasn't my friend. So that's what it was. So I was her friend. I was her best friend. She wasn't my best friend because I had a little boyfriend, y'all. You know, his name was, I can't tell you his name. But anyway, his name has been changed to protect the not so innocent. His name was John. So I was his boyfriend. I was his girlfriend. He was my boyfriend, whatever. So this best friend was being paid $5 a week, not to tell me he was talking to somebody else. Now, we weren't doing no grown folk stuff, nothing like that. But, you know, it was your little boyfriend, y'all hold hands and, you know, maybe a little peck on the cheek, something like that. But to me, that was big. Because I had one of them daddies that you couldn't even look at a boy without getting a whooping. So, you know, I really felt like I was doing big things. So again, 5 little funky dollars per week, $1 per school day is what she was getting for not telling me that he was talking to other girls. So I felt really hurt. I felt betrayed. Right. Wow. I felt betrayed. I mean, this is a kid I was friends with like since like 1st grade, and we made it all the way to middle school together, and this is what she would do for money. So needless to say, I developed some trust issues with women from there on, but I've worked it out. But things can stay with you for so long, and even now I don't trust her as far as I can throw her, but I know how to approach that now. Maybe we've all grown, but we've never really address it. I've tried to address it with her, and it was just like, oh girl, that was in the past, blah, 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 blah. You need to get over it. Truth be told, I'm over it because I worked through it in therapy, but you and I were close, and we were, yeah, child, they would do some things strange for a little change. We called ourselves best friends, but that wasn't what it was. And again, it hurt my relationship all the way through high school and college because I didn't trust women anymore to be my friend. So it just took a while. So boundaries can hurt you, even when it's a man cheating on you. It takes a while to get over it. So it's good to impose it early, as quickly as you can. But it's not all negative. There is a bright side. One, as you just heard, you can work through it. You can be better. You can grow from it. You can also find yourself again, because as women, we are nurturers, we are caregivers. We want to be thought of as good people, but we end up in precarious positions because we're trying to do it all. You don't have to do it all. I will tell you, you don't have to. You're not required to. You're not a bad person if you don't. You're not a bad Christian if that's what you are. You're not a bad anything. You're just learning to be who you are, and you got a little bit sidetracked. So please take this as your permission slip to implement boundaries that keep you safe, that keep you sane, that keep you well, and it will make you a better person for everybody. Because going back to the anger, Again, maybe your boundaries started off in anger, but as you begin to know who you are, know what you'll tolerate, know what you won't, know what's your responsibility, know what isn't, you become so confident in yourself that you don't have these problems after a while. You won't have these problems at all in a little bit, except for with new people. But with the common folks that are in your life all the time, you won't have these problems, and you can be a happier, more carefree you because you're safe with everybody that are in your circle, of course. So that's about it. And if you don't mind, tell me how I did, if this information was timely and helpful. I'd like to know if I'd done that. Please be honest. The presentation link, I'm sorry, the feedback link is below. It's bit.ly/survey B4B, which is Boundaries for Beginners. So please go there and let me know. I'd appreciate it. If you'd like to keep in contact, you can do so via email, go to my website, or contact me via phone. I'm not always near my phone. That is my office phone number. So you can leave me a message if you so choose. But if you need an immediate response, you can use my email. And I thank you for joining. Again, I do not take your presence lightly. I love each and every person that came in. Can I put the bit.ly back up? Of course. I love each and every one of you in such a special way that came in. You don't even understand the level of support that you give me, the confidence boost that you give me when you come in and support me. I try to be there because of my work schedule. I can't be there for everybody, but I'm doing better. So I will stop the recording. Thank you. I'll stop the recording. And if you guys want to have a talk, we can. Ask questions, you can. And I will get this recording out, okay? Give me 1 second here. Everybody got the bit.ly? Everybody want to go back and see any other slide before I take it down? Everybody good? Oh, I don't know why Zoom. No, I don't want to end it. See? I am no good at this technology. Joy, thank you, Gail. Joy, I am channeling my inner you. I really am. So, I don't know where I'm supposed to go from here. Y'all know what I'm supposed to do? No, stop recording. There we go.